Ambassador Catherine Summers stepped onto the polished floor of the Zilthian Grand Hall. The massive chamber stretched before her, its ceiling lost in shadows high above. Rows of alien diplomats watched her with cold eyes. Some looked almost like humans, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Others were completely different, with many limbs or strange body shapes. All of them served the Zilthian Empire in some way. Catherine walked with her back straight and her head high. At 43, she had spent 20 years in diplomatic service on Earth. Now she represented all of humanity to the stars. The weight of that duty pressed on her shoulders like a physical thing. Ambassador Summers called High Chancellor Vex Thor from the raised platform at the room's center. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Approach and present your case." Catherine moved forward. Her simple blue uniform stood out among the elaborate robes and armor of the alien representatives. She carried only a small datapad in her hands. Vex Thor towered over her. His purple skin gleamed under the bright lights. 4 yellow eyes blinked in sequence down the center of his face. The High Chancellor had ruled the Zilthian Empire for 200 years. Under his command, the Empire had grown to control most of the Orion arm of the galaxy. "High Chancellor," Catherine said, her voice clear and strong. "I come before you today with evidence that concerns all peaceful species in this region of space." She activated her datapad. A hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed star maps, trade routes, and military movements. "These records show a clear pattern," she continued. "The Empire has been slowly taking control of human space through seemingly friendly trade deals. Each agreement gives your military ships greater access to our territory. According to paragraph 16 of our original treaty, this violates..." Silence. Vex Thor's voice boomed through the hall. The other aliens shifted nervously in their seats. "These are serious claims, Ambassador. Where did you obtain this information?" Catherine stood her ground. "From multiple sources within your own government. There are those in the Empire who believe in true cooperation rather than conquest." A low murmur spread through the watching aliens. Catherine knew she was taking a risk, but Earth needed to know the truth. For 3 years, humanity had believed the Zilthians wanted peaceful relations. Now it seemed they only wanted another world to add to their collection. Vex Thor's upper eyes narrowed. "You accuse me of lying? Of breaking treaties? This is an insult to imperial dignity." "I present facts, High Chancellor. If they seem insulting, perhaps you should reconsider your plans for Earth." The 4 guards beside Vex Thor stepped forward. They carried energy staffs that crackled with blue light. "Ambassador Summers, you are under arrest for insulting the Empire and spreading false information," Vex Thor announced. Catherine's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. "I have diplomatic immunity under galactic law. You cannot arrest me." "Galactic law exists because we allow it to exist," Vex Thor said. "Guards, take her away." The guards surrounded Catherine. One grabbed her arm roughly. "Earth will not stand for this," she warned. "Contact my government immediately. This is a violation of every diplomatic protocol." Her words echoed in the suddenly silent hall. Many of the watching aliens looked down or away. They had seen this before. The Empire took what it wanted and punished those who resisted. The guards led Catherine from the hall to a small, bare room, deep within the diplomatic complex. They took her datapad and communicator, then left her alone with only a hard bench to sit on. Hours passed. Catherine paced the small space, thinking about Earth. Humanity had only discovered faster than light travel 15 years ago. In that time, they had built a small fleet of ships and established colonies on 3 planets beyond our solar system. Earth was still united by the excitement of reaching the stars. People believed the galaxy would welcome them. Catherine had been the first to learn the truth. Most advanced species lived under the control of empires like the Zilthians. Freedom was rare in the stars. The door slid open. A small, green-skinned alien entered. Catherine recognized the species, a Melnari, one of the first races conquered by the Zilthians thousands of years ago. "Ambassador," the Melnari whispered, "I am Treek. I serve as a legal advisor to the diplomatic corps. They are planning a trial for you tomorrow. A trial? For what crime? For insulting the Empire and spreading harmful lies. The penalty is death. Catherine sat down hard on the bench. That's ridiculous. I presented verified information. Truth does not matter in an imperial trial. Only the Empire's wishes matter. Treek looked nervously at the door. I have sent a message to your government, but communication will take at least 12 hours to reach Earth. Thank you, Treek. You're taking a risk by helping me. The small alien nodded. Many of us watch Earth with hope. Your people still believe in freedom. That is rare and precious. After Treek left, Catherine tried to sleep but couldn't. She thought about her family back on Earth, her parents in Arizona, her brother in the colony on Mars. She had always known diplomacy could be dangerous, but she had believed in the rules that governed relations between worlds. The trial the next day was brief. Catherine stood before a panel of 5 Zilthian judges. No evidence was presented. No witnesses were called. The judges simply listed her crimes and asked if she denied them. I deny that telling the truth is a crime, Catherine said. I represent humanity with honor and integrity. The Zilthian Empire has shown neither in these proceedings. The judges consulted briefly, then announced their verdict: guilty. The sentence: immediate execution. Guards took Catherine to a small platform in the same grand hall where she had confronted Vexthor. A crowd of alien diplomats watched silently. Some seemed troubled. Others looked afraid. High Chancellor Vexthor entered and took his place on a high throne. Catherine Summers of Earth, he announced. You have been found guilty of crimes against the Empire. Your execution will serve as a warning to all species who would challenge our authority. Catherine looked out at the gathered aliens. She saw fear in their eyes, but also something else, a hidden anger. The Empire ruled through intimidation. For thousands of years it had worked. My death will not frighten Earth, Catherine said clearly. Humans do not surrender to bullies no matter how powerful they seem. Remember my words when humanity responds to this injustice. Vexthor nodded to the executioner. A flash of blue energy surrounded Catherine. For a moment, pain filled her world. Then darkness. The execution was broadcast across the Galactic communication network. On thousands of planets, beings watched as a human diplomat died for speaking the truth. On Earth, the message arrived during an emergency session of the United Nations. World leaders watched in horror as Catherine Summers was executed without a fair trial. President Eleanor Grant rose to address the silent chamber. Her face was pale but determined. For 10,000 years, the Zilthian Empire has bullied and subjugated developing civilizations, she said, her voice steady. They believed we would be no different. They were wrong. She looked around at the representatives of Earth's nations. Catherine Summers died protecting our freedom. We will not let her sacrifice be in vain. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in its history, humanity united completely behind a single purpose. Earth declared war on the Zilthian Empire. Major Alan Garcia stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet destroyer EDF Nemesis. The ship hummed with power around him. Through the main view screen, he could see the stars stretched into lines as they traveled through hyperspace. In 12 minutes, they would reach their target. All stations report ready, sir, said Lieutenant Jane Foster from the weapons console. Alan nodded. Good. Tell the crew to prepare for battle. 6 weeks had passed since Ambassador Summers' execution. 6 weeks of rapid preparation across Earth. Factories that once made cars now built fighter ships. Research labs that studied space travel now created weapons. Every nation pooled its resources for the coming war. Alan looked at the small screen, on his command chair. It showed a picture of Catherine Summers. He had never met her, but her face was now known to every soldier in Earth's fleet. Her last words had become their battle cry. Humans do not surrender to bullies. 2 minutes to exit from hyperspace, announced the navigation officer. Alan opened the ship-wide communication channel. This is Major Garcia. In 2 minutes, we Begin humanity's first strike against the Zilthian Empire. They believe we are weak. They believe we are afraid. Today we prove them wrong." He paused, looking at the determined faces of his bridge crew. "The Zilthians have ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Today that ends. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every species they have conquered and oppressed." The ship's countdown timer reached 0. The streaking stars on the view screen suddenly reverted to normal space. A large space station appeared directly ahead. Outpost Drega, the same facility where Catherine had been executed. "All ships in position," Jane reported. "The Zilthians have not raised their shields. They don't see us coming." Alan's grip tightened on his chair. "For Earth. For Catherine," he said quietly. Then louder. "Fire." The Nemesis released its first volley of missiles. Behind them, 5 other Earth ships did the same. The missiles streaked toward the Zilthian outpost, leaving trails of blue light. The Zilthian station finally detected them. Alarms blared. Defense turrets swiveled to target the approaching ships, but they were too slow. The first missiles hit the station's command center. The structure broke apart in a flash of light and debris. More missiles struck the shield generators and weapon systems. "Sir, they're launching fighter ships," Jane reported. "Deploy our fighters," Alan ordered. From the Nemesis and its sister ships, smaller craft emerged. The Earth fighters were new designs, built using technology humans had secretly copied from Zilthian ships that had visited Earth. The Zilthians had never imagined that primitive humans could understand their advanced systems, much less improve upon them. The space around Outpost Drega became a battlefield. Earth fighters darted between larger Zilthian vessels, firing precise shots at engines and weapon arrays. The Zilthians fought back fiercely, but confusion spread through their ranks. Their commanders had been killed in the first attack, and their centralized command structure was failing without clear orders. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Alan monitored the battle. "Target their communication array," he ordered. "Cut them off from the rest of the Empire." The Nemesis fired again. The tall communication spire on the outpost exploded in a shower of metal and energy. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from inside the station," Jane said with surprise. "Non-Zilthian life forms are requesting help. They say they're prisoners and slave workers." Alan hadn't expected this. The intelligence reports hadn't mentioned prisoners on the outpost. "Tell them to get to the lower shuttle bays. We'll provide cover fire for their escape." As the battle continued around them, dozens of small transport ships fled from the outpost. The Earth fleet protected them, shooting down any Zilthian vessels that tried to stop the escape. 3 hours after the attack began, Outpost Drega was a floating wreck. The Earth fleet had suffered damage, but no ships were lost. And they had gained something unexpected: allies. The rescued prisoners represented 12 different species, all conquered by the Zilthians. Many had technical skills they had been forced to use for the Empire. Now they offered those skills to Earth. From Outpost Drega, 6 other human fleets carried out similar attacks on Zilthian facilities. Admiral Susan Russell coordinated the simultaneous strikes from her command ship in Earth orbit. Each attack targeted a different Zilthian outpost, and each succeeded with minimal human losses. In her command center, Admiral Russell received the reports from all 7 battle groups. "The first phase is complete," she told the assembled military leaders and President Grant. "We have destroyed 7 Zilthian outposts and rescued over 3,000 prisoners of various species." President Grant nodded. "And our losses?" 11 fighter craft destroyed, 38 crew members dead, 52 wounded. The Zilthians lost approximately 8,000 troops and 23 warships. The room fell silent as the numbers sank in. Earth had struck a devastating first blow. "What happens next?" asked General Kim from the Asian Alliance forces. Admiral Russell pulled up a galactic map on the main screen. "The Zilthian Empire includes hundreds of star systems and thousands of military outposts. We've just destroyed 7 of them. This war has barely begun. But we've proven something important," President Grant said. "The Zilthians are not invincible. They can be beaten. There's something else, Admiral Russell added. The freed prisoners have given us valuable information. Not all species in the Empire are loyal to the Zilthians. Many have been waiting for a chance to rebel. Our attack may have sparked something larger than we planned. Back on the Nemesis, Major Garcia welcomed the leaders of the rescued prisoners to the ship's conference room. They came in many shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien. A tall bird-like being named Kral stepped forward. Its feathers were dull gray, but its eyes shone with intelligence. For 800 years my people have served the Zilthian Empire as slaves, Kral said in a translator-assisted voice. We believed no one could stand against them. Today you proved us wrong. Alan nodded respectfully. We fight for our freedom. We would be honored to help you fight for yours as well. The Empire's greatest weapon has always been fear, said another alien, a small green being with 6 arms. They convinced every species that resistance was impossible. By attacking them, you have broken that fear. They executed our ambassador, Alan said. They thought it would frighten us into submission. Kral made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Instead, they awakened a warrior species they know nothing about. The Zilthians have made a terrible mistake. Across the galaxy, news of the human attacks spread quickly. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had lived under Zilthian rule for generations began to whisper about rebellion. The Zilthian Empire had started a war with Earth, but they might soon find themselves fighting on many fronts. On his throne on Zilthus Prime, High Chancellor Vexthor received the news of the attacks with rage. How did they do this? He demanded of his military commanders. How did primitive humans defeat our outposts? No one had a good answer. No one had expected humans to fight back at all, much less win. Gather the fleet, Vexthor ordered. We will crush this human rebellion before it spreads. But even as he spoke, reports arrived of uprisings on 3 worlds within the Empire. The war had only just begun. 3 months after the first attacks, Earth was changing. On the industrial planet of New Detroit, Dr. Olivia Martinez walked through what had once been the world's largest car factory. Now it produced fighter ships instead of family vehicles. Workers moved with purpose on the assembly lines. Robots welded metal plates onto spacecraft frames. The sound of engines being tested filled the massive building. How many ships can we make each week? Asked General Frank Peters, who had come to inspect the facility. 50 fighters and 2 destroyers, Olivia answered. Next month, we'll double that number. The general nodded, impressed. The Zilthians have no idea what's coming. Olivia had been a car designer before the war. Now she led the team that converted Earth's factories to build weapons and ships. Other planets were doing the same. Mars produced missiles. The moon colony made armor and shields. Every human settlement worked together with a single purpose. The Zilthians think we're still using their old technology, Olivia said as they walked past a new ship design. But we've already improved it. Our ships are faster. Our weapons hit harder. We have something they don't understand, the general replied. Motivation. They fight because they're ordered to. We fight for our freedom and now for the freedom of others. At Earth's space station, a meeting was taking place. Representatives from 15 alien species sat around a large table with human leaders. All of these aliens had been rescued from Zilthian control during the first 3 months of fighting. Admiral Susan Russell addressed the group. Our fleets have destroyed 29 Zilthian outposts. We've damaged their supply, lines and communication networks. But the Empire is vast. We need more help. Kral, the bird-like alien who had been among the first rescued prisoners, stood. My people have begun fighting on our homeworld. 4 other species have also started rebellions. A holographic map showed the Zilthian Empire. Small points of light indicated where rebellions had broken out. The Zilthians are facing something new, said President Grant. They've always controlled through fear. Now that fear is breaking down, a small, blue-skinned alien named Zex raised 3 of his 6 hands. My people control many of the Empire's communication systems. We can send your message of freedom to every corner of Zilthian space. The meeting continued as plans were made. Earth would provide ships and weapons to rebelling worlds. In return, these worlds would share their knowledge and join the fight against the Empire. On the Zilthian homeworld, High Chancellor Vexthor faced his first real challenge in 200 years of rule. The Grand Council of Zilthian nobles had called an emergency meeting. 3 months of war, and what have we accomplished? Demanded Council Member Drath. Humans destroy our outposts. Subject worlds rebel against us. Our mighty fleet chases shadows. Vexthor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of anger among his kind. The humans caught us by surprise. That advantage is ending. I have ordered our main battle fleet to Earth. We will crush this rebellion at its source. And what of the other rebellions? Asked another council member. 20 worlds have risen against us. Without Earth's support, they will fall, Vexthor said confidently. Once humans are defeated, fear will return to control our empire. An aide entered the chamber and whispered to Vexthor. The High Chancellor's purple skin darkened with rage. What is it? Drath demanded. Humans have attacked the Xanthi mining colony, Vexthor admitted. They've freed the slave workers and destroyed our facilities. Murmurs spread through the council. The Xanthi colony produced rare metals needed for Zilthian ships. Without those metals, building new warships would become difficult. This cannot continue, shouted a council member. The humans must be stopped. They will be, Vexthor promised. I have a plan that will end this war quickly. Far from the Zilthian homeworld, Captain Paul Williams led a special Earth force on a mission to the planet Durilia. The Durilians were a peaceful species conquered by the Zilthians 300 years ago. Their world was rich in resources that the Empire needed. Paul's team landed their small ship in the thick forests that covered much of Durilia. 20 human soldiers moved quietly through the trees. Their mission: contact Durilian rebels and deliver weapons and supplies. Movement ahead, whispered Sergeant Linda Harris, pointing through the trees. Paul signaled for the team to stop. Through his binoculars, he saw a group of tall, thin aliens with gray skin. Durilians. They moved cautiously, carrying simple weapons made from farm tools. They're the rebels we're looking for, Paul said. Let's make contact. The meeting was tense at first. The Durilians had never seen humans before. They knew of Earth only through Imperial announcements that called humans dangerous rebels. We bring weapons to help you fight the Zilthians, Paul explained, opening crates filled with energy rifles and explosive devices. The Durilian leader, a female named Ilara, examined the weapons with wonder. For generations, the Zilthians have forbidden us from having any technology that could be used as weapons. My people have forgotten how to fight. We can teach you, Linda offered. And these weapons are simple to use. Ilara looked at her fellow rebels, then back to the humans. Why do you help us? What do you gain? Allies, Paul answered honestly. Earth cannot defeat the Zilthian Empire alone. We need every world they've conquered to rise up at the same time. And after? Ilara asked. If we win, what then? Will humans become the new empire? Paul shook his head. Earth wants freedom, for ourselves and for all species. We propose an alliance of equals. Each world governs itself, but we stand together against threats. The concept seemed to surprise the Durilians. In their experience, stronger species always controlled weaker ones. Is this truly possible? Ilara wondered. We believe it is, Paul said, and we're willing to fight for that belief. After discussion among themselves, the Durilians agreed to accept the weapons and training. Within days, human soldiers were teaching Durilian rebels how to use the new weapons and fight effectively against Zilthian patrols. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Earth's special forces made contact with rebelling species, provided weapons, and offered training. The message spread. Freedom was possible. In Earth orbit, the research vessel EDF Discovery made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war. Dr. Nathan King had been studying Zilthian biology and technology since the first prisoners were rescued. Their hive-mind communication system is the key, he explained to General Laura Miller during a video call. Zilthians share thoughts and commands through a specialized organ in their brains. It works on specific frequencies that we can now identify. Can we use this knowledge? The general asked. Nathan nodded excitedly. We've developed devices that can disrupt those frequencies. If we can place these disruptors on key Zilthian worlds, we could break their command structure completely. Where would these disruptors need to be placed? That's the difficult part, Nathan admitted. To be effective, they need to be on Zilthus Prime, the Zilthian homeworld. It's the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. General Miller considered this information. So we need a covert mission to the heart of the Empire. Yes. And whoever goes would face extreme danger. The chances of returning are small. The general nodded grimly. I'll take this to Admiral Russell. We'll need volunteers and a perfect plan. As the general ended the call, news arrived from the front lines. The main Zilthian battle fleet was moving toward Earth with over 300 warships. It would arrive in approximately 2 weeks. The third phase of the war was about to begin, and humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. But across the galaxy, hope was spreading. Species that had lived under Zilthian control for thousands of years now dared to dream of freedom. And on 20 liberated worlds, alien children learned a new phrase in their various languages: human, justice. To them, it meant something precious that they had never known before, the right to choose their own future. 1 year had passed since the execution of Ambassador Catherine Summers. The war between Earth and the Zilthian Empire had spread across hundreds of star systems. Neither side could claim victory. In Earth orbit, Admiral Susan Russell studied the battle map in her command center. The massive Zilthian fleet that had approached Earth 6 months ago had been defeated, but at great cost. 30 Earth ships had been destroyed. Thousands of brave soldiers had died. They keep coming, she said to her officers. We destroy their ships, but they build more. We free their slave worlds, but they conquer new ones. Captain Maria Diaz pointed to a section of the map. Our guerrilla tactics work well. We hit their supply lines and communication centers, then disappear before they can respond. But we can't keep fighting this way forever. Admiral Russell nodded grimly. She knew Maria was right. Earth's resources were limited compared to the vast Zilthian Empire. The war had reached a stalemate. Humans surprised the Zilthians with our technology and courage, but the Empire could absorb significant losses. We need to end this war decisively, Russell said, and I believe Dr. King has found a way. Dr. Nathan King entered the command center carrying a small metal device. It fit in the palm of his hand, but could change the course of the war. This is the neural disruptor, he explained. It generates frequencies that interfere with the Zilthian hive mind communication system. The officers gathered around to look at the device. We've tested it on captured Zilthians, Nathan continued. When activated, it breaks their mental connection. They can't coordinate with each other. They can't follow orders from their commanders. How many of these devices do we have? Asked Maria. We've built 50, Nathan said. But to be effective, they need to be placed in key locations on Zilthus Prime, the Zilthian homeworld. The room grew quiet. Zilthus Prime was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. No enemy ship had ever broken through its defenses. A direct assault would fail, Admiral Russell said, thinking aloud. We'd lose too many ships before reaching the planet. We need a small team, Captain Diaz suggested. A covert mission to place the disruptors. Exactly, Nathan agreed. The devices must be placed at these specific locations to disrupt their entire command structure. He showed a map of Zilthus Prime with 12 points marked. Admiral Russell looked at each officer in the room. This mission would be extremely dangerous. We can't order anyone to go. I'll lead it, said a voice from the doorway. Commander Lisa Wright had entered the command center silently. She was one of Earth's most decorated Special Forces officers. Catherine Summers went into danger knowing the risks, Lisa said, stepping forward. We can do no less. Within days, a team was assembled. 12 human soldiers volunteered for the mission, knowing they might not return. Each was trained in stealth operations and carried years of combat experience. The team would use a captured, Zilthian transport ship to approach Zilthus Prime. Their cover story, returning with supplies from an outer colony. The plan was risky but possible. On the day of departure, President Grant visited the launch bay to speak with the team. "What you attempt may end this war," she told them. "You carry the hopes of Earth and all freedom-loving species with you." "Commander," Wright saluted. "We won't fail, Madam President." The captured Zilthian ship lifted off from Earth's main space station. It would take 3 weeks to reach Zilthus Prime, following indirect routes to avoid detection. During those weeks, the war continued. Earth ships and their alien allies struck Zilthian targets across the galaxy. Rebellions on conquered worlds expanded. The Empire devoted more resources to fighting internal uprisings and fewer to the war with Earth. The Zilthian Grand Council met again on their home world. High Chancellor Vexthor faced open criticism from many council members. "1 year of war," said Council Member Drath, "and we lose ground every day. Human ships appear from nowhere, strike our facilities, and vanish. Slave species that served us for millennia now rebel against our rule." "The situation is temporary," Vexthor insisted. "Our main fleet will launch a new offensive against Earth colonies next month. Without those resource bases, humans cannot continue fighting." "And what of the rebellions on 57 worlds?" asked another council member. "Our troops are spread too thin." "Rebellions can be crushed," Vexthor said firmly. "Once Earth falls, the others will lose hope. Fear will return to control our empire." What Vexthor didn't know was that Commander Wright's team had already reached the outer defenses of Zilthus Prime. Their stolen ship transmitted the correct identification codes. Zilthian traffic control directed them to a landing area away from the main city. "We've passed the first test," Lisa told her team as they prepared for landing. "Once on the ground, we split into 6 groups. Each group must place 2 disruptors at the designated locations." The human soldiers wore special suits that masked their body heat and altered their appearance to look like Melnari servants, a species common on Zilthus Prime. Their weapons were hidden in equipment cases that scanned as maintenance tools. The ship landed smoothly. Zilthian dock workers approached to unload supplies. The human team moved quickly, dividing into their assigned groups and heading into the sprawling capital city. Lisa and Sergeant Jack Collins took the most dangerous target, the central communication tower near the Grand Council chambers. They moved through crowded streets, careful to keep their heads down like proper servants. "Security checkpoint ahead," Jack whispered as they approached the government district. 2 Zilthian guards stood at the entrance, checking identification of everyone who passed. Lisa and Jack moved to the side, watching. "We can't get through that way," Lisa said. "We need another approach." They found it in the form of a maintenance tunnel that ran beneath the main street. The tunnel was used by service robots that kept the city functioning. Lisa and Jack slipped into the tunnel through an access hatch and followed it toward their target. Meanwhile, the other teams faced their own challenges. One group was stopped by a Zilthian patrol and questioned briefly before being allowed to continue. Another had to hide for hours when their target location was suddenly filled with Imperial guards. Despite the obstacles, all 6 teams reached their assigned locations. The disruptors were small enough to hide in ventilation systems, power junctions, and communication panels where they would not be found easily. Lisa and Jack placed their first disruptor in the base of the communication tower. The second needed to be installed near the Grand Council chamber itself, the heart of the Zilthian government. "Guards everywhere," Jack observed as they studied the massive building from a service corridor. "No way to get in unnoticed." Lisa checked the time. "The other teams should have placed their devices by now. We're the last ones." She made a decision. "I'll create a distraction. When the guards respond, you place the disruptor." "Commander, that's too risky. You'll be captured or killed." "This is more important than one soldier," Lisa said firmly. "If we fail, Earth might lose this war." Before Jack could argue further, Lisa stepped into the main corridor and fired her concealed weapon at a decorative statue. The blast echoed through the hall. Alarms sounded immediately. "Intruder!" shouted a Zilthian guard pointing at Lisa. "Secure the chamber." Lisa ran in, the opposite direction from Jack, drawing the guards after her. She fired more shots, making sure they focused only on her. Jack moved quickly while the guards were distracted. He reached the target location, an air circulation system that served the council chamber, and installed the final disruptor. Once activated, it would break the Zilthians' mental connection across their capital city. Lisa fought bravely, but she was outnumbered. Zilthian guards surrounded her, their weapons ready. "Surrender, human," demanded their leader. Lisa smiled slightly. "It's already too late." At that moment, Jack activated all 12 disruptors remotely. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Zilthian guards clutched their heads, their mental connection suddenly broken. Across the capital city, confusion spread as the hive mind communication system failed. For the first time in their history, Zilthians could not share thoughts or receive commands telepathically. Their greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. Lisa was captured, and Jack escaped with 4 other team members on a stolen ship. 7 of the 12 human soldiers died during the mission, but their sacrifice changed the course of the war. Within hours, the disruption spread beyond the capital as the devices interfered with the entire Zilthian communication network. Across hundreds of ships and dozens of worlds, the Zilthian command structure collapsed into chaos. On Earth, Admiral Russell received the message from the returning team members. "Mission accomplished. The disruptors are active." The Admiral turned to President Grant. "It's time for the final phase. Our fleet is ready to move against Zilthus Prime." "And our allies?" the President asked. 57 liberated worlds will join the attack. The Zilthian Empire faces war on all fronts, with no way to coordinate their defense. For the first time in their long history, the Zilthians faced not just defeat, but extinction. And it had all begun with the execution of one human diplomat who dared to speak the truth. 5 years after the execution of Ambassador Catherine Summers, the galaxy had changed completely. The once mighty Zilthian Empire existed only in history books. The planets they had ruled for thousands of years were now free and independent. In the Grand Chamber where the Galactic Council met, Ambassador Daniel Clark represented Earth. The room looked different now. The high throne where the Zilthian High Chancellor once sat was gone. In its place was a round table where representatives from all species sat as equals. Daniel looked around at the diverse aliens who had once been enemies or slaves of the Zilthians. Now they worked together to build a new galactic community based on cooperation rather than fear. "The trade agreement between the Darillian Federation and the Earth Alliance has been approved," announced the council leader, a tall Melnari named Treek, the same Treek who had once risked his life to help Catherine Summers during her imprisonment. Daniel smiled as he thought about how far they had come. The final battle for Zilthus Prime had lasted only 3 days. With their communication system disrupted, the Zilthian forces could not coordinate their defense. Earth ships and their allies from 57 liberated worlds had overwhelmed the Aikuid Imperial fleet. High Chancellor Vexthor had been captured in his palace. Many expected him to be executed for his crimes against countless species. But Earth had suggested a different punishment. "We are not like them," President Grant had said. "We do not execute prisoners, no matter their crimes." Instead, Vexthor and the surviving Zilthian leaders were sent to a rehabilitation world. There they lived under supervision, learning to exist without dominating others. The council meeting ended, and Daniel walked through the halls of the new Galactic Center. It had been built on a neutral planet, not on any homeworld. The architecture combined elements from many different species, symbolizing their new unity. His communication device beeped. It was a message from Admiral Russell, now the head of Earth's diplomatic corps. "The President is visiting the rehabilitation world today," the message read. "She requests your presence if possible." Daniel was surprised. President Grant rarely visited the rehabilitation world where the Zilthians lived. He arranged immediate transport and arrived there 2 hours later. The rehabilitation world was beautiful, with rolling green hills and clear blue lakes. The Zilthians lived in a large compound with comfortable buildings and gardens. They were not prisoners exactly, but they could not leave the planet. President Grant was waiting for him in a meeting room overlooking a garden. Ambassador Clark, she greeted him. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Of course, Madam President. May I ask why we're here? High Chancellor Vexthor has requested a meeting. After 5 years, he finally wants to talk. Daniel was stunned. Vexthor had refused all communication since his capture. The former ruler spent his days in isolation, speaking to no one. Why now? Daniel wondered. We'll soon find out, the president said as a door opened. Former High Chancellor Vexthor entered the room. He looked older, his purple skin faded to a lighter shade. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he studied the humans. President Grant, he said, his voice no longer commanding. Thank you for coming. You requested this meeting, Chancellor, Grant said. Why? Vexthor sat down carefully. I have had 5 years to think about what happened, about what we did, about what you did. He looked directly at Grant. You could have executed me. Why didn't you? Because that's what you would have done, Grant replied simply. And we are not you. Vexthor was silent for a moment. For 10,000 years, my species ruled through fear and strength. We believed it was the only way. When Ambassador Summers challenged us, we responded as we always had, with a show of force. You murdered her, Daniel said, unable to keep the anger from his voice. Yes, Vexthor admitted. We thought her death would frighten Earth into submission. Instead, it united your world against us. Catherine Summers believed in justice and cooperation, President Grant said. Even as you executed her, she knew Earth would not surrender to bullies. Vexthor's upper eyes closed briefly, a sign of deep thought among his kind. I have studied your species during my time here. Humans are strange to us. You fight with incredible determination, yet show mercy to defeated enemies. You unite despite your differences. You help others without demanding their submission. We believe in freedom, Grant explained. Not just for ourselves, but for all beings. A concept we never understood, Vexthor said. Until now. After the meeting, Daniel traveled back to Geneva on Earth, where a memorial to Catherine Summers stood. The simple stone monument showed her image with her final words carved below. Humans do not surrender to bullies. Children visited the memorial daily, learning about the diplomat whose death had changed the course of galactic history. Schools taught how one human's courage had sparked a war that freed hundreds of worlds from oppression. Daniel watched as a group of alien visitors laid flowers at the memorial. They were Darillians, one of the first species to join Earth in the war against the Zilthians. Their leader, Ilara, had become an important voice in the new Galactic Council. She never knew what her sacrifice would achieve, Ilara said, noticing Daniel. One human diplomat against an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years. Catherine believed in standing up for what's right, no matter the odds, Daniel replied. It's a human trait. A trait the galaxy needed, Ilara said. Before humans reached the stars, many species had given up hope of freedom. We accepted our place under Zilthian rule because we saw no alternative. And now? Now we build something new together. Not an empire, but a community of equals. As the sun set over Geneva, Daniel thought about how much had changed in 5 years. Earth had entered the galactic community hoping for peaceful cooperation. Instead, they had found oppression and war. Yet through that darkness, a new light had emerged. Earth ships now helped rebuild worlds devastated by the conflict. Human teachers shared knowledge with species who had been denied education under Zilthian rule. The technology that had won the war was now used to improve lives across the galaxy. A new phrase had entered the lexicon of countless species. Human justice. It didn't mean revenge or punishment. It meant something the Zilthians had never understood. Mercy from strength, freedom through cooperation, and standing firm against bullies. Catherine Summers' final diplomatic message, recovered from the ruins of Outpost Draga, had become a guiding principle for the new galactic community. The measure of a civilization is not its power to destroy, but its willingness to protect. Humanity had proven itself by both measures, and the galaxy would never be the same. As night fell, Daniel walked away from the memorial, thinking about the future. The war was over, but the work of building a just and peaceful galaxy had just begun. Earth would lead not through force or fear, but through example. The execution of one human diplomat had sparked a revolution that transformed the stars. Now humanity's true mission was just beginning, to ensure such sacrifices would never be needed again. In the vast darkness of space, thousands of ships from dozens of species worked together, their lights forming constellations of cooperation against the endless night. Among them, Earth vessels were often at the forefront, not conquering but helping, not demanding submission, but offering partnership. The Silthians had executed a human diplomat, thinking it would end a problem. Instead, it had ended an empire and begun a new age. And somewhere among the stars, Daniel liked to think, Catherine Summers knew her sacrifice had not been in vain.